I'm your host, Katrina Johnson. You can find me at katrinajohnson.online. Thank you for joining me today. I have a great show for you. Be sure to share and subscribe to my podcast. And without further ado, let's get into today's show. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Katrina Johnson Show. This is season 4, episode 2. And the topic for this season is transition. Now, what I'd like to do right now is just share dictionary.com's definition of transition. Used as a noun, it's movement, passage, or change from one position, state, stage, subject, concept, etc. to another. So last week, what I shared with you guys was my story of how I had to make a transition back in 2016 out of a marriage. That was my transition point in my life in that year of 2016. And we all know, it's interesting, let me say this, that this topic is called transition. When we are just transitioning from 2020 into 2021. Now, I didn't plan it like that. That's just the topic that came up for me when I was deciding on what to speak about. So we know that throughout our life, we will be transitioning in various different ways for one reason or another. And sometimes when we're transitioning, it's done on purpose, meaning it's planned. You know you're going to move, you know you're going to relocate, so you that's a planned transition. But then there are other times when transition takes place unexpectedly. Like you don't know at the beginning, you didn't know that you were going to have to make a transition, but something occurred and you had to think quick and make that transition. Nevertheless, transition does exist. And what I want you to get out of this season is the fact that whenever transition happens, it can be for your good if it's one that wasn't planned. In other words, transition happens sometimes and it catches us off guard, or, you know, we're going through this transition, maybe on a job, and we really don't like it, but we have to look and see the good in it, you know, because there's always some good in the realm of that transition. And last week, if you did listen to the first episode, then you will know that I had several miracles that took place. So if you missed it, feel free to go back and check it out, because I will share the different miracles that took place in my life during this transition. Well, this week I have a story from someone unknown. This was an anonymous writer, and the title of this message that this person, as a female, wrote is called "Without Suck, There Cannot Be Growth." And I'll say that again. Without suck, S like Sam, U, C like Charles, K, there cannot be growth. I'll be reading the story as the author wrote it, and I'll share her transition based on her story. I'm just going to read the story as she wrote it about her transition from an accident that brought a transition in her life that took her from a dream of wanting to fly one day. She enjoyed flying. She always wanted to fly, to almost losing her ability to do anything, let alone flying. So here we go. Let me read this story from this anonymous writer. Ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to be a pilot. Growing up just 20 minutes away from Frankfurt Airport, I would spend hours watching the aircraft doing their holding patterns, over our backyard. When I was 7 years old, a friend of mine showed me a video he took of the Blue Angels. I remember thinking, these guys are crazy. People can do that? I was so convinced that this is exactly what I wanted to do later. There was always some kind of engine noise coming from the speakers, and for my birthday and Christmas, I wanted books about different types of planes. And I also wished for the chance to see the Blues live. Now, I'm German. In order to fly anything in any branch of the U.S. military, you have to have American citizenship. My dad was stationed in Wiesbaden with the Army, but he and my mom divorced when I was just 5. After looking into the Foreign National Student Program at Navy Academy, lots of phone calls, emails, walking in circles, being turned down, but never giving up on my dream, I made it. My father agreed to sign the citizenship papers for me, and I finally held the key to my future in my hands. The acceptance letter to the academy. This was it, my best shot at actually getting to fly the aircraft I dreamed about since I was in elementary school. I knew my mom and stepdad weren't as happy with my choice in life as I was. So when I broke the life-changing news to them, I didn't expect them to have a change of heart and suddenly fully support me in my journey. What I didn't expect is to end up in a 17-hour emergency surgery. I will spare you all from the gory details, but it was later confirmed by law enforcement as well as the doctors that I was most likely kicked out of a car going 60 to 80 miles per hour. That I can even sit here today, 6 years later, and type this is nothing short of a miracle. She goes on to say, during this, however, I damaged my right optic nerve. All of a sudden, half of my world was blurry, clouded, and just patches of color. Flying anything, especially jets, was out of the question. I relearned how to sit up straight, learn how to stand and walk again. I learned how to speak and how to feed myself again without slapping myself with the spoon every single time I tried to grab it. After those news, I fell into a very deep hole. Those next 2 years were the darkest of my life. She says, slowly relearning how to live a normal life again, if that was even possible. Today, 6 years later, I can say I made it. I have accepted who the new me is. I have come to terms I probably won't fly anything in my life. Being legally blind in one way, a damaged balance system, and a whole bunch of metal in my spine aren't exactly the best starting conditions. I have learned more about myself than I ever thought I would. And this whole experience opened my eyes to a whole new world. She says, I learned that it doesn't matter how fast you progress or how many mistakes you make along the way. The only thing you have to keep doing is taking another step and another one. As long as you keep taking steps, no matter how small they might be, as long as you keep moving forward, you're doing a fantastic job. There is nobody holding you back but yourself. She She says, you have no limits. Limits are for the unwilling. I was told I might never walk again, certainly not without assistance. This year, in January, I ran my first 5K again. I haven't sat in a wheelchair in forever, and my crutches are collecting dust in the basement. We are all a whole bunch of epic miracles and a lot more resilient than we may think we are. All we have to do is keep walking and strive to be a better person tomorrow than we were today. To not be where you want to be should be all the motivation you need. And she ends it like this. And remember, without setbacks, there cannot be progress. Without mistakes, there cannot be success. Without self-doubt, there cannot be confidence. Without fear, there cannot be courage. Without suck, there cannot be growth. You got this. You're epic. What a story. What a life-changing story. And this person decided she wasn't going to give up. That transition was not something she expected to happen in her life. But she took, I'm sure, all of the emotions that she felt and put them in under check, I like to say. She put them in check. And she went on to discover a new way of being, a new way of living, and was able to transition in order to share this story and to hopefully inspire others to never give in to the fear, the lack of anything, but to push forward, taking that step after step after step. So I want to say that this began in her mind. This also began with a choice, because I'm big on the mindset and the choices we make in life. So this individual made a decision. I am not going to let this situation get the best of me. Doesn't matter what the doctors say, that I won't be able to walk again or walk on my own. This person decided, I'm going to give it my all. I'm not going to let this transition in life that was really unexpected to dictate how my life will end or how I will live my life. So the mindset has to be there. And making the decision comes easy if your mindset is positive about overcoming and adjusting to the transitions or what have you. So I hope that encouraged someone out there today. Share it with someone. Share the podcast with them. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, please do so. And as I always say, stay inspired. Let's keep the conversation going by emailing me at katrina@katrinajohnson.online. That's katrina@katrinajohnson.online. So grateful that you joined me on this episode. Remember, information plus inspiration equals transformation. And until next time, stay inspired.